Well, hi there. This here is Lenore Zann, aka Rogue of the X-Men, and you are listening to a special presentation of the power of X-Men. And my co-host and star of the show today is
Emma Dumont, aka Polaris, a long time ago.
Yay, Polaris! We love
Yay,
you.
Rogue.
Polaris in the comic books recently is depicted with her coffee. Like, what is your ideal morning coffee situation?
When I do drink coffee, it's a black coffee hot with one Splenda. And I believe that's also what Lorna would drink in real life.
A daddy cable.
Daddy cable. I would love that. I would love.
Shout out to the Powers of X-Men podcast.
Hottest writers at Marvel Comics right now.
The Pretender's death. Like, be.
Right, familia, Power of X-Men, we're with. I love that. Do you love Power of X-Men? I love Power of X-Men. Of course I do. Do I? Yes, I do.
What's up, familia? Although you guys can probably do What's up, familia better than I can.
What's up, familia?
I love it. That's so good.
Howdy,
Folks.
sugar.
Yes.
Folks, I am so excited. We have Emma Dumont and Lenore Zann, aka Polaris and Rogue, on the podcast today, and this is their first time meeting. How are you humans doing?
Yes. It's so great to meet you, Emma. And, it's going to be fun to have this conversation. And I know we're going to be talking about some really important stuff that probably will hit home to a lot of your watchers, listeners. And I just want to say what an honor it is to be here to talk to both of you. And that any of the community, our X-Men family that's out there, and the LGBTQ2 plus IA community, I love you, and I'm so sorry that you're being harassed so greatly at this point in time by figures in your own governments. It's a sad day, and but I'm with you all the way.
Oh my gosh, and I was just gonna say it's such an honor to meet you.
Thank
Not
you.
me being so giggly and like nervous.
No, I'm so giggly and nervous seeing both of you together. Like,
Oh my gosh.
mind.
I feel like such a poser. Anyway.
No.
Listen,
No.
I get to fanboy about both of you. Both of you are icons in the X-Men franchise. I'm sorry. The Rogue is a hallmark of the X-Men, and Polaris, I mean, she's
Polaris
regal. She's
is,
royalty.
she's like the unwanted third child, or fourth, actually, who they shipped off to X Factor. No, just kidding.
She's a great character. I love
Yeah.
Polaris.
Oh, me too. Yeah, and Rogue, obviously. I mean, duh. Duh.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, the X-Women obviously are known in the X-Men franchise. Why do you think the X-Women are like the best out there?
I would say intersectionality first and foremost, because we all know what, X-Men represents, marginalized groups, being different, made to feel like you are less than, or, the other ring of people. And then the women within that group have an additional layer to their intersectionality, which I think is so interesting and important for storytelling and representation.
Yeah, and I think that intersectionality, especially when you're a reader, in my case, when you're a reader at a young age, you're seeing characters who occupy multiple identities. And you have that added layer of fantasy, which is mutant, right? Which is a stand-in for LGBTQIA plus, or whatever the individual is experiencing on top of what the character already has in their history. So it's just this wonderful, like, posh, like when you see the character come together on like a panel, or on the Gifted, or on X-Men the animated series. Look at me plugging you guys. Cringe.
Yes. Yes. I think that Marvel really did service to women as well by making sure that we were superheroes and that we were seen as superheroes. And it wasn't just the men who were getting to do that. So I really do feel honored to play Rogue, who is supposedly the strongest woman in the universe. But I love the fact that juxtaposed with that is it's very much like the mythic heroes of olden day, where your mythic heroes also have a what we call an Achilles heel or a vulnerability. And Rogues, as we know, is she's strong. She can pick up buildings and throw them. She can fly, but she can never allow herself to be intimate with anybody because she's afraid that if she does, she will actually kill them. I mean, that's pretty potent and pretty huge responsibility to carry. And I think that's what makes her the interesting character that she is. And I bet you there's a lot of people out there who can relate to that in a different way.
Absolutely. I love Rogue. Everything you just said. Yes, yes. I can't. I don't know. Now I'm just rambling, but yes. I don't know why, but Champagne Problems by Taylor Swift started playing in my head as you were saying all that. No, but it's true. And it's ironic because she's like so human, quote unquote, and that's like pretty interesting.
Well, it's the modern mythologies, right? I mean, that's what they are. And they're emblematic of humanity and our struggle and what we go through and sort of how we rationalize and cope with things. And I think that's what X-Men has done really well, especially, for current readerships and within the last 30 years.
I was just going to say, the last 30 years, I'm not going to say that the women of X-Men were super amazingly portrayed through all of history all the time. I'm not going to say that because times change, culture changes, we learn and we grow and we become different. We become better people as we evolve. So I'm not going to say that it's always been great, but the last 30 years, definitely.
And I have to throw in there, and breast sizes are different too, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Right? Like we don't all have to have these great big bosomous breasts, and and we don't all have that.
And we also don't all have to be naked all the time.
Right.
We're like close to it.
True.
Oh my God. Gay boy. I never noticed the breast sizes. I'm sorry, gay boy here.
I love you.
It's like I posted like a photo the other day of like Wanda or something, and someone's like, "Man, her breasts are enormous." There, I'm like,
and you're like, "What?"
I'm like, I didn't notice. Like, she just looks so fat. Like, I love her hair. Like,
right.
But you're like, she has great pecs.
But it's funny because like the sexualization was something that totally evaded me. As a kid.
Great.
And I think
I'm so glad it did as a kid. Like, yes, thank goodness.
But like now once you see it, it's so like it's in your face and it's so weird and it's so distracting at certain points. But I think both the characters you like both of you portrayed like just went above that and just showed empowered, strong voices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. That's the other one. And you were fabulous. And and you were fabulous.
Thank you. I'm sure Emma enjoyed doing her character as much as I enjoyed doing mine. It was, and it still is. It's so exciting. I love getting in the studio and becoming Rogue again. It makes my day. I wish I could do it every single day. It's awesome.
We are so excited for X-Men 97. The amount of DMs.
Oh my gosh, yes. We're all waiting patiently on bated breath.
Me too.
So you guys have a character in common. Both your characters have a character in common in Magneto. And what do you guys think of Magneto? I'm curious on your thoughts. And Lenore, if you want to kick us off.
I'd love to hear Polaris's take on
Polaris. Oh, Polaris.
I have a lot to say about Magneto.
Let's get comfortable. Let's hear.
I, of course, love Magneto for everything Magneto stands for. Magneto being sort of the bolder of the two sides, right? The two belief systems. His story is remarkable. I mean, I love a Nazi hunter. Anyone who's a Nazi hunter, I'm all for that. Like, good for you. However, as I've grown older, I've realized that Magneto was wrong. unfortunately, you can't, like, it's not an eye for an eye. It just can't be. It just cannot be. And because that's sort of like, if you look at the real world, that's sort of how we've always lived, or at least since, England started to colonize places. It's always been like violence first. You get what you want by being strong and being forceful. And I guess it's sort of like the only way people think they can revolutionize culture or whatever, or gain acceptance, is by being, I don't want to say violent, but being forceful. Yeah, being aggressive. And I think that's incorrect because no one's ever tried it the other way. And I don't know. I just think he was wrong in parts of his thinking.
And what do you think of your relationship with him, of Polaris's relationship with him?
Oh, who knows? One day he's the dad, and the next day he's not the dad.
We should have the red button question is, what do you think of Nurse Annie?
Oh my gosh, Nurse Annie! Oh my goodness.
No, but like
Emma,
to what you're saying, I understand what you're saying about that cycle of violence. At a certain point, that hyper anger and violence has to end somewhere. And sort of I don't know where I'm at in my life right now. I think I'm still in the camp that Magneto was right. And it's probably because I live in Florida right now. Mm-hmm. And our governor is a piece of shit and making it very scary here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I was just talking to my husband over brunch, and he was here like, and do you know a lot of the funding for LGBTQIA plus, groups are being taken away from, government funding? And I was like, that's terrifying. So like the college we went to, it was called a Gay Straight Alliance back then, GSA.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, yes, it was called GSA. It was
GSA.
Back then. Yes,
it was just GSA.
Oh my gosh, back when I was straight, so funny.
Mm-hmm. But it's scary to me that these programs that should have evolved are now evaporating, and they've evolved to very nuanced spots where you can have a conversation, and now they're evaporating. So part of me is angry. Part of me is just like, I understand that anger with Magneto.
I understand that too, and I could not agree more. I think my thing is more so like, I don't believe in Magneto or Xavier. Xavier is too passive. Magneto is too physical. I think there's a middle ground where you can be forceful, but use the Xavier.
The Xavier brain.
Beat them at their own game, right? Like all these bad guys in real life, they need to get out of office. They're doing illegal things. They're being bought by billionaires. Literally, this is against the Constitution. Like, get them out.
It's interesting. I've always thought of Magneto and Xavier in the sense that they remind me of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. That's how I see them. And I do see both sides, and I see why they feel the way they feel, and I understand why Malcolm X felt the way he felt, and why he espoused what he did, and also why Martin Luther King did what he did and said what he said. It's interesting if you kind of look at them both as two sides of the same coin. In a way, spiritually speaking, together they make up a whole, and where they merge is where the sweet spot is. And I think that's where we have to move forward. But it's like, if you look back at Hitler's Germany and you see the Nazis starting to imprison gays and drag queens, people who are not white Aryan people, and in the beginning, there were fewer of them than the rest of the population, so nobody really did too much about it. And then as time went on, they started getting more and more different groups of people and exterminating them. So I'm seeing a very scary trend happening here. And I don't like what I see. And having been a politician myself here in Canada for 12 years, 4 elected terms to office, yes, I have to say, I think fascism needs to be called out when we see it. And I'm seeing fascism emerging in a way that I do not like, and which is not healthy for America or for the world.
I could not agree more. But I'm just wondering, like, these people, these high ups in power, and it's not just the politicians, it's the people who are above them, even these really, the 0.06% or whatever. How are they able to buy judges? How are they able to break the law? How are they able to get away with anything? And therefore, the politicians below them are able to get away with anything. Why aren't we, the hundreds of millions of US citizens, why aren't we all saying, hold up, this isn't right. You need to leave. You are suspended from your position as a public servant. I hired you. Like, we're the boss.
Because they've gerrymandered the ridings where the votes take place. They've gerrymandered them in such a way that they control what's going on. And then they're trying to do things to stop people voting. They're trying to make it more difficult for diverse people to vote. And then you've got the electoral college too. Isn't that what it's called?
Yes.
I mean, right?
Emma and I are just laughing.
We're like,
right?
oh boy, that nonsense.
Right? We don't have that in Canada.
Oh, we know.
Oh yeah,
Right?
we are well aware. Y'all do it a lot better than we do.
Yeah, you guys are in a better position than we are.
Get rid of the electoral college. You don't need that. You don't need that. And you have to really, really keep on pressing people to get out and vote. People who care about these issues, people who care about the fact that they're taking away a woman's right to have her birth control or abortion or whatever she wants to do with her body. Like, this is not okay. We're going backwards. It's going backwards here. So, and the gun issue as well, with all these shootings, what is it? 2 shootings a day now, 204, and already it's very, very sad and scary to watch. And having been someone who also experienced a mass shooting here in my area in Canada, it was the largest mass shooting in Canada's history. It's terrifying, and it needs to stop. And I do believe that gun control is necessary in order to do that. The countries where they have better gun control have less of these shootings, if not none, they have very few.
Lenore, for our listeners who may not be aware of what happened in your area, could you, if it's not too troubling to recount, could you tell us what happened with the shooting?
Well, we were under lockdown from the pandemic, and our area, our province or state, which is Nova Scotia, where I live, was under state of emergency. So it meant that nobody could leave their homes except to go to the pharmacy or doctor or to the shops to go buy groceries. And it was just a couple of months into the pandemic. It was in April of 2020. I was the elected member of parliament here, and I got a call from the Prime Minister's office on a Sunday morning saying, we're just calling you because we're concerned. Are you aware of what's going on in your constituency? And I said, no, like, what do you mean? We're under lockdown. We're in a state of emergency. Nobody's allowed out of their houses, basically. What's going on? And they said, well, there's an armed man, dangerous, who has already killed people. And he's on his way to Truro, which is where I live, a small little town. And we believe he's going to be killing again. So can you get the word out to your constituents to lock their doors and windows and don't open the doors to anybody? And I was like, how am I supposed to reach all of these people? Like, isn't there an emergency alert system that the police can put out, or, And it turned out that the police didn't put out an alert, which really they should have. And the man proceeded to kill, in the end, 22 innocent people. One of them was a pregnant woman.
Oh.
And he finally got caught by police by pure accident. He had taken the car of one of the last people he murdered, and it ran out of gas, and he had to go to a gas station, and some police were there also filling up, and they looked over and they went, hey, isn't that the guy that we're looking for? And it was. And a shootout occurred, and he died. He was murdered. I mean, he was killed by the police. But he but the fact that was that this man had been an angry individual. He had been a wife beater who people had reported to the police before for his violence. He had beaten up like a young kid for driving a bicycle in his yard one time. He had been reported a number of times.
Yeah.
And he'd also been reported as being somebody who's not only violent, but had a stash of weapons. And nobody did anything until it was too late. And he got a police car. He fixed up a police car to look like a real police car. And he put a police uniform on and he drove around in his police car and he killed all these people. So it was traumatic to everybody. And we all know somebody who died or are related to or went to work with somebody. And, and we're still feeling it today. So my heart goes out to everybody who has experienced any of these terrible violent crimes. And I really do believe in red flag laws, and the mental health thing. Yeah, nobody should have guns who is not of sane mind. And the age, I mean, why should an 18 or 19-year-old be able to go out and just get a semi-automatic weapon? What are semi-automatic weapons for? They're for killing large numbers of people quickly. They're not for hunting. You're not going to go hunting deer with a AK-15 or whatever. So yeah, you do need to have better gun control laws. And the gun industry doesn't want to hear that because it's all about the money. Follow the money, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
mean, it's what you both were saying. Like they've been able to buy their way into the law and rework the system. It's terrifying.
It
Yeah.
is. And also 18, 19-year-olds not only don't need semi-auto weapons, and if they are going to claim it's for hunting, it's like, for what? You're not feeding a family of 7. You're an 18-year-old kid. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no logical reason that these things look, I understand that there's a lot of fear in this country right now, and I totally am with everyone, and I see it, and I'm part of it, and I fear, and we're all terrified. But having a gun or a semi-automatic weapon behind every American door isn't going to save us. It's just not.
No.
I don't know what people are scared of specifically. I know people are scared of some sort of government takeover is what I've heard, where they need to bear arms up against their government. And I'm just like, whoa, what?
It's really...
I know. We don't have that Second Amendment thing here in Canada, and most countries don't. So you don't hear that argument. Yeah. And to me, it's almost like a false flag. It's a straw man. The thing is, you don't need those kinds of weapons. Regular, ordinary people don't need those kinds of weapons, and they need to be curtailed. And that's why you've got people suiciding at the rate that you do using guns. That's why you have these huge mass shootings. And it's the availability of these weapons and the accessibility. And it's really sad to see.
It's so sad to see. And there's no reason why we can't have a gun safes be required. There's no reason that we need to be giving anyone and everyone a firearm. I don't like it, but I do understand that there's like other things that need to be handled as well. And I'm hoping that potentially once we get our government into better shape, have better people in office, get rid of the pyramid scheme that is our country, maybe people will feel more safe and will start becoming more Canadian. No one come for me. Americans who are listening, don't come for me. And then we can feel like we maybe can relax and say, oh, okay, I don't need those 5 guns.
Well,
yeah, I mean, sorry, Paul, I was going to say, the whole thing about love and compassion and kindness, and we're in this together. We need to focus on the fact that we are loving, kind people who really want our children to do well. We want to be happy. We want to be free from suffering, as the Buddhists talk about. And, and we really need to focus on those positives rather than the things that we don't like about someone else or the negatives, and get into these huge fights between tribes, as they like to call them.
Ah, yes, our 2 tribes.
Oh, we got
here in Canada, we have a few different political parties. So it's not just the one or the other. In fact, like Bernie Sanders is a social democrat. And here in Canada, we have the New Democratic Party, which is a third party, which is like the Bernie Sanders party of Canada, really.
Gotcha.
And I had belonged to that party for 10 years here in Nova Scotia. And we did make up the government for 4 years. And then we were the opposition for 6. And then I also moved into the Liberal Party of Canada, which is Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He asked me if I would run federally, but for his party, which is the Liberal Party of Canada. And I loved what he was doing where it comes to diversity and inclusion and the environment and climate change and all of these things. And people's rights, And so I said, sure. And so for 2 years, I also worked with him, and I got to see what it's like to be in a government where you've got the Liberal Party, you have the NDP, New Democratic Party, you have the Bloc Québécois, which is a French party in Quebec, and also the Conservatives and the Green Party. And there are also 2 Green parties. So it's different when you've got when it's made up of a number of different parties, and it's not just the 2 parties constantly at each other all the time.
Yeah, it's more realistic. You can't split humans into black and white. It's not this or that ever. And I don't even understand why there are parties. Personally, I'm not very educated, and maybe Lenore, you could educate me a little bit, but I just don't get it. Like, maybe we just vote for what we believe in. And also, I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound crazy. I don't care to hear about any single one politician, just US politicians, opinions or thoughts on anything. I don't care if you believe some people should have human rights or you think other people shouldn't have human rights. Your opinion does not matter to me. You are a representative of us, of the people. So keep your opinions away. Tell your wife and your husband or whoever it is when you go to sleep at night. But you're supposed to represent us and what's good for us.
That's why we're supposed to vote in people who believe and have the values and the principles that we also believe in. Mm-hmm. That's why it's important who you vote for. Make sure you know what their values are and what they're going to stand up for and what they are not before you vote for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It baffles me that, because Emma, I agree with you. It's like you have your personal opinions on something, but you have your job, and your job is to represent the people. You are supposed to be emblematic of it. But to what you're saying as well, Lenore, it's like we just don't live in those times anymore. Like, people, you have to vote on character now and where they land. And unfortunately, in America, it is a very polarizing landscape here right now, and it's just either you're one at one end of the room, or you're on the other, and there is no middle ground. There's no multitude of opinions or nuances here. You're just, it almost feels like, who was I reading? I was reading Al Gore's book, The Assault on Reason, a couple of years ago, and it's the media generating these polarizing views of everything, and they're all bought by sponsors. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, America, I can't speak to Canadian politics by any means, but
here,
America, it feels so transparent right now, exhaustingly transparent. And you think at this point we all get it, right? We see that Facebook ad, we see that Pepsi with, or Diet Coke with Ann Coulter, right? Like, and it's still not registering with some folks.
I think we know. I just don't know. I think people feel helpless and hopeless. They feel that we can't do anything. However, it is our constitutional right to restructure the government if we see that it is unethical and ill-fitting for our times. And it is. Literally what you just said. You're either in the, what is it, like the Bloomberg party, or you're in the Musk party, or you're in the whatever party these billionaires are donating to. You can track the money. You can see where it comes from. So I just don't know why. Again, there are like 300 and something million of us, million of us. Why can't we just say, oh, I think it's time to have our constitutional rights, and I would like a restructuring, because none of these people are doing right by us.
This is why in Canada we have laws whereby only individuals we have laws where only individuals can donate to parties and campaigns, and they can only donate up to $5,000. They can't donate more.
Millions and billions.
Right? Yeah. Like, so corporations, companies, even unions, they're not allowed to invest or to donate to these parties, because because they are going to try and swing it one way or the other. So that's why, those rules are really important too. And yeah, there are some changes that could definitely be made. But isn't it interesting? We're talking about these huge combating interests and how they are poised to fight each other, just like the X-Men and what they're dealing with, and Magneto and Professor Xavier and those two ideologies, right? That's why I think the X-Men is so universal, and why it's perfect timing actually for us to come back.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes, please. Well, especially since I think Bo had released a general synopsis that like the tide for the public perception for the mutants in X-Men 97 has changed in favor of the mutants, and the X-Men are starting to get a taste of that acceptance, and then something happens that calls all that into question. And I think it goes to, and we saw this in the Gifted as well, it's the nuance of these politics. And that's where a lot of these issues lie, that it's just not as cut and dry as it is portrayed out there. And I think that is why the X-Men do so well. Let me ask you guys about the mutant metaphor for your respected shows. How do you think your shows handled the mutant metaphor? Now that you've had some, Lenore, I know you still have X-Men 97, but the original series. How do you guys feel about the mutant metaphor now that you have some time away from the work you guys did?
Oh, I thought The Gifted was dead on. Dead on. I mean, we had a Nazi. We had one of our lead characters was a Sentinel Nazi guy, and we showed those groups and what it's like and where that trauma came from. And Lenore, a little bit of background. There was a character, a Sentinel Services agent, and he lost a daughter to a big event having to do with mutants. So basically, you can say a mutant killed his daughter, right? And so then he became super hyper anti-mutant. He lost his wife over his anti-mutant agenda and feelings and philosophies, and he got sucked into this group of anti-mutant, for lack of a better word, Nazis. And I actually thought that character was one of the most important characters, because it's a story that's never really dug into. It's sort of like a street level, brutal, raw look at what that is, what being discriminatory and having a lot of hate and trauma in you and where that comes from looks like. So I think Gifted did a great job at that, but I didn't write it, so I don't know.
That's really interesting. That's almost like what's happening with many young white men online when they get sucked into some of these groups, these discussion groups, which start off with little jokes and things like that about women or about this or that or the other thing. And then they very quickly, they suck them in and get them going down that rabbit hole into the dark web of misogyny and prejudice and bigotry. And it's like it's a mind washing technique in a way, and it's again, I have to go back to what Hitler did in Germany, and they brainwashed so many people to believe, they keep repeating, somebody we know keeps repeating the big lie over and over and over again, and eventually people believe it.
Absolutely,
it's happening again now.
Yeah, it's happened throughout history. Yeah, it's wild and very sad. I mean, I always know, and I always tell myself, humans are so fragile. We love to think we're great big, we're top of the food chain, we're the best. We're not. We're sensitive, we're vulnerable, we're weak. We especially in late stage capitalism, as we are in the US, we are all desperate for survival, and we're kind of just at the worst place we've ever been as far as emotionally and mentally vulnerable. And so I'm also concerned.
I hear you with that. And I've been reading a lot and studying a lot about climate change and all these things too. And many of us are very concerned about the way things are going for the planet, with pollution and the global warming and seas rising and land sinking and all kinds of forest deforestation and all these beautiful animals going extinct. And mankind is just a very young species.
We're
And
babies.
I do, and
That
if you
fits.
look at the grand scheme of things, and I do look at it and go, are we going to become extinct ourselves because of what we do to this planet? But I know that people are feeling overwhelmed and frightened and feeling like, it's just all too much. And many young people are having, anxiety about climate change and about what's going on there. But I again have to say, we have to move through this world with principles and stick to them and do whatever we can to educate others in ways that we open doors and we open windows instead of just shutting them and closing them off, because that's just so easy to do. And people they're revved up. They're revved up, ready to go to battle. And, we need to step back and breathe and go, hold on a minute. I'm here. Life is short. I'm here for the moment. Right in this moment, how am I doing? I'm okay. I've got a roof over my head. Okay. Do I have something to eat in the next little while? Okay. I'm doing all right. Now, what can I do to help others? What can I do to be altruistic? What can I do to help the planet?
Yeah.
And even if you do a small one thing, two things each day, believe me, it'll make you feel a little bit better. One thing I did during the wildfires of Australia, where I'm originally from. I was born in Australia, moved to Canada when I was 8. So I love little Australian animals, always have like little koalas. And when I was
all the
seeing
deadly ones too. No, just kidding.
Oh, the deadly ones. Not so keen on the deadly ones, but I have encountered them. But the koalas in particular, I love, and most people do. And when I started to see that they were getting burnt and that they couldn't escape because they're slow moving and everything, I started looking into it. And there are these koala hospitals in Australia that were taking in these little koalas that people would find and that needed help to get healed. And if they were well enough after a while, put them back out into the wild where there is a wild, where there are actually eucalyptus trees that they can live in. Anyway, so I have a friend who's a teacher who teaches environment and science and all these kinds of things. And he told me that his kids, like these kids in grade 7 and 8, were very concerned about them too. So I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, they can adopt a koala. They have a program where if you had, I think it was $40, $30 or $40, you collected $30 or $40, you could symbolically adopt a koala. And, you would get a little certificate, a little adoption certificate, and then they would send you updates on your little koala and how the koala is doing. You could watch videos and all this. So the kids fell in love with that idea, and they started a thing called Coins for Koalas. And they would gather $1 or $2, whatever, till they had $30 or $40, and then they would adopt a koala. So that school adopted 22 koalas over the course of like 2 years, and then other schools started doing it, and the kids felt great because it taught them that they could actually do something, that there was something they could actually do to make a difference, and they could see the difference. And I think that's what we need. And that's what if we can think in ways like that, even like the elephants that need to be rescued from, and bears from the biofilms, and children who are starving, all of these things, we can help in many ways, small or big. And it helps. It does. It helps.
Well,
Absolutely. And to piggyback on that, I'm just going to double down and say, yeah, altruism needs to be taught in schools, because culturally, at least in the US, our cultural norm is selfishness, maybe even narcissism it's on a spectrum. So I'm not saying every person is a wild narcissist, but that the trait, to be selfish, to worry about yourself, to just get as far as you can in this life and pass on your inheritance and all this stuff. And so I think you're right that if we teach people young that it's okay to be caring towards others, to be compassionate, to fight off the selfishness with the opposite of selfishness, altruism, and being giving and compassionate. And I love love this because children love animals, and they're like innocents, you know, we see them sort of like we see children as just like innocence of this earth. And so if children can help animals, I think that will instill in them this like idea that it's okay to be helpful. It's okay to care for others, because I've experienced times as an adult even where people are like, you're too caring for others. You need to just think about yourself and forget everyone else. And I'm like, who told you that?
I hate it when people
Exactly.
say that, when they say things like that, like, oh, you care too much about someone else. Like, you need to care about yourself. And it's like, listen, self-care and like making sure, you know, you have the necessities, of course. But I think, you know, we saw this during the pandemic. Emma, we've talked about it, like with the debate about masks and everything. It's like, who cares if what the science is saying right now? If wearing a mask is going to help our fellow person, if there's a shot at least 20 years from now, I can look back and say, I cared enough about my neighbor to wear my mask and make sure that they were being taken care of. And for me, it's one of those things that like, there are certain aspects, and we saw this during the pandemic, that transcend you and your basic needs of what you think your freedom should be. It's like, no, we are a community. We're going through this huge global event. Like, we do have to help each other. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Totally.
Yes. And when did it stop being a good thing to help each other?
I honestly think after the Industrial Revolution maybe is where well, no, for real, because it's like we have like my grandparents were, at least my grandmother was like a depression baby. And after that, it was like hoard as much as possible. And at first it was just like hoarding basic necessities, right? Food, shelter. But now it's hoarding wealth and hoarding cars and hoarding all this stuff. And I think it's done a number on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and to be honest, to get back to what's going on with these attacks on the LGBTQ2+ IA community, it's not right. And my heart just goes out to everybody in the States who is feeling lost and alone and abandoned by their own government officials and by people who seem to feel that it's okay to rise up and say things to others that are rude and abusive and accusatory. I mean, it's not okay. This is not normal, and we can't normalize it. And I just love you all, and I really look forward to meeting so many of you on the road as I go to Comic-Cons and different states to meet all kinds of people. And I really hope our show, X-Men 97, helps you and speaks to you. And yeah, we love you.
I'm just so glad that we are able to have spaces like this where we have conversations like this, because Emma and I have talked about this before. Like, we need to have these conversations about what's going on in the world and how fucked up things are now. And especially, I can only speak to Florida. I can't, because I'm coming from New York. Everything felt, I mean, New York doesn't feel safe right now, but for different reasons. But I mean, like, in terms of being who you are, I felt protected. And now being in Miami, in Florida, I'm like, they don't even want to teach gay, you know, to kids. They want to wipe us from the history books, and that's a terrifying thing.
I know. And they're doing the same thing with Black history.
Yes.
And I mean, they don't want to talk about slavery.
It's ridiculous. You know what it is? Remember after slavery was abolished, and then we had that period of time where, like, I forget how long it was, maybe 15 years, where we were like going forward. And then we got, I think, into the 1900s, and then it was like we got shot backwards like a billion steps. I like think we're in one of those now, right? Because I feel that we were like the 60s, late 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. We're like, great, let's fight for good things, equality, blah 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 blah, anti-war. And now we're going back. And I'm like, oh no, stop it. Banning books? Is this a joke?
No. Terrible.
Is it a joke? It's ridiculous. What? Like,
yeah.
I remember
there are books about this. Like,
there are books about banning books.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I just hope and pray that in the next few years, people wise up and rise up and start really getting politically active, because politics is the way right now, and we do need good people in there who have who believe in diversity, like our prime minister here in Canada, who says diversity is our strength. This is the way forward, and the other way is a dead end. And I really hope that people realize it and stop it, put the brakes on it, and start to come out in large numbers and vote those mofos out of office.
Yeah.
I agree. Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Lenore.
How's that?
Oh my God.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? Oh my gosh. Now that the adult left. No, I'm just kidding.
So, like, oh my God.
Oh my
like,
God, I'm so impressed. I love her so much.
I literally think I talk too much on this podcast, and I just let both of you guys talk. That's it. You guys can host your own podcast. Like, I'm going to take a vacation, and both of you just go at it.
No, we need you. You're the glue that holds everything together.
I'm
Wait,
just
this
like,
is your podcast. What do
yes.
you mean? What do you mean you're just you'll leave? No, you can't leave.
I'm like, yes, hi. Like, Emma, Lenore, wrote Polaris, isn't it great? And then you guys just go into these wonderful conversations. But that's like, we've talked about this. That's supposed to be the vibe, especially when you're dealing with a
Absolutely.
community like the one like we're
For
part
sure.
of.
And I love Lenore so much. I love her because she exists in a parallel universe to my own. She exists in a totally different space time with a different context, different nuances. She is of a different generation than me, from a different land that it has maybe their shit more together. And I love the idea. I mean, it's a little Xavier. We're maybe like a little critical pair, she and I, where she's very much like, you got to go out, you got to vote. And I'm very much like, that has not worked thus far. We maybe need to try something different. And I think that's so cool and awesome and interesting. And I love it. I just love it.
You said something, though, that I think framed so much, because I think right now in like the comics, when you're thinking of Magneto, it's Magneto was right. And people have this very black and white approach about like Xavier's too passive, Magneto's the way to go, especially in today's world. But when you talked about this idea of like recycling the hate and using that what colonial like behavior of colonization and being angry, and my might is bigger than your will, and I will wrangle it. It does come to a point where we need to end that cycle of violence. And we do need to, at a certain point, like take a step back and be like, the system has not worked so far.
It hasn't worked. It has
And
not worked. And we're proof of that. Like we did it for however many years. We're actually so young, which is so funny, but like we did the trial run.
Yeah.
It didn't work. They came here, they killed a bunch of people, not even just in the US, in all of the Americas, killed a bunch of people, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't work. You can't start something good with bad. If the origins of the thing, country, place, corporation, whatever it is, the organization is bad, then you can't have a flourishing, healthy future. And I'm sort of just like at that point where I'm like, I am a pacifist. I don't believe in violence. I think it's really bad. No human life is less valuable than any other human life. No one deserves to be hurt or harmed or injured. Even if, and this is where people are going to cancel me, even if you are a very bad person, I do not believe, like, I don't believe in the death sentence. Like, I just don't, but I believe in intellectual combat. I believe in words. I believe in linguistics and logic and empathy and compassion. And I believe that if we ignore the billionaires, like just ignore them and ignore their little puppets, right? Ignore the Clintons, ignore the, like, even like, we love Bernie, but he like fundraised from the people, from like, the poor people, like from us, and then use that millions and millions of dollars. It's just, it's none of it's quite right. Everyone's kind of guilty. And I think we should all just ignore them and do what's best for us.
I will never forget when Jill Stein, after, the election, the 2016 election, was like, I'm going to raise some money to do a recount. And recount never happened. And I gave my $5, which was big for me. I was working in editorial at the time. These edit jobs, you're not banking money. $5 was my round trip on the subway. But I believed in it. And why? Because I fucking believed. in making sure we had a fair and honest election and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
people
absolutely.
source it from the people, and then where did that money go? Where'd my $5 go, Jill Stein?
We need it back pronto.
Can I get a
send
refund?
an invoice? Let's send an invoice. Let's do it. I'm ready. Honestly, though, like even like I agree. I agree with myself that we should send invoices to all these people.
Can you imagine if I was like, no, we're not sending an invoice? No, I agree with you. Well,
Yeah.
and like the thing is, and like what I found particularly interesting about our conversation, specifically your perspective on a lot of things, is listen, you read Hillary Clinton's book. She talks a lot about fake news and the media and all that. What was Trump saying? Fake news and the media and all this stuff. What's happening now in the US? We find out that the FBI is coming out saying that like Obama and the Clintons were in cahoots to take down Trump and fabricated this like, relationship with Russia. This is just the news, of what's coming out now.
Yeah. It's all,
And it's like, you now understand, it's like, oh, we're just pawns. Whatever the truth is, whatever the fuck the truth is, I'm not here to
Thank
say
you.
we are just, there is something larger than ourselves happening, and we're being spun a publicity statement.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm at the point where like I agree with you. Like I'm not gonna say what the truth is because guess what, honey? I wasn't there.
Yeah,
like
I wasn't there. I wasn't in those rooms. How can I say what the truth is? Just because I read one article? No,
right? Or like whatever, whatever like told me on the news or whatever media. But like who is running it? There's like a secret. There's like a. I'm gonna sound so conspiracy theory right now, but that's
bring it.
But it's like the truth is like those things are probably like based in like somewhat in truth. Like what is it called? What do they call the secret government? They call it the
Illuminati. Is that no? That's the people who are running the world behind our backs.
I mean, yeah, whoever it is, the Masons, the Illuminati, Disney, the whoever it is, the undertakers of whatever. I don't know these people, but it seems like there are a bunch of billionaires that get to do whatever they want. I found out today that there's a family called the Bass family, which I didn't know, and they're apparently like billionaires. They're out of Texas, buildings and everything named after them, stadiums and so forth, I think. And apparently there's like talks, allegedly, this is all alleged, I don't know anything because again I wasn't there. There are like people are wondering why in this town where these billionaires own so much, they own the police force, they own the blah blah blah, blah allegedly, I don't know the truth, why there's so much child trafficking going on.
Yeah.
Same with Bakersfield. Why is there so much child trafficking? Why aren't the CIA and FBI like, or even who is it? The CSA? Who's the people that watched us?
Oh, I don't know.
Who are the people that monitor us? Anyway, I don't know who they are, but like, no, come on, the fancy one. It's like the FBI. We don't even know.
CIA?
I love you, Paul, so much.
I don't know. I'm so good.
The NSA. The
NSA.
Right?
Oh, the NSA. Yes. The National Security Agency. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. I love. I'm like. PGA, PWA.
I'm like, well, when you said watching us, I was like, wait, on the Gifted? Like,
no, like us right now. Anyway, but like, guys at the NSA, like, stop watching me. I'm boring. I'm like a loser. Okay, you don't need to watch my TikToks of me like desperately trying to find a job and not be homeless. Go find the child traffickers. What are you doing? You have the resources. You have the time. What are you doing if you're not doing that? Why aren't you stopping the active shootings? What is even going on? Why? Paul, tell me.
I don't know why the active shootings is a thing that's still happening. Do you know the story? I don't know if I've told you this. My uncle is on trial for murder because much like what we were talking about earlier in this episode, he has a history of mental health issues. Allegedly, this is all allegedly because
this is all alleged. We were never there. We were never there, friends.
I was not there. I was in New York when this event happened. But like my uncle had complaints after complaints filed against him, and my cousin moved into a house in a neighborhood here in Florida, and the neighbor's dog was defecating on my cousin's lawn. My uncle. Obsessive about
defecating.
This.
You like pooped on the lawn.
Pooped on. Okay, well, it's a Florida man story. You can
dogs do that.
Yeah, they poop. They poop.
Yeah, they do.
And so my uncle got really angry and confronted someone he thought was a neighbor, and ended up killing allegedly killing the neighbor in self-defense. That's his story, but it's not. It's not the whole thing. But like
we weren't there. Yeah.
how does my uncle, who has a history of, all of these complaints forged against him, how can he just walk in and buy a gun? This has nothing to do with stripping you of your Second Amendments. Listen,
No, not at all.
I'm Cuban American. I understand the Cuban Revolution. The guns were taken away. It's a very big issue for Cubans. I understand that. But at the same time, you have someone with all of these citations against them. Obviously, not a very well-adjusted member of society. Why are they allowed to have arms? That is scary.
Yeah.
That is really scary.
And even taking it one step further, not only why are they allowed to bear arms? Why aren't they being given services, resources, help?
Yeah.
What is going on? Why are we being abandoned? Why are we being abandoned? Meanwhile, Coca-Cola or like Nestle, the Nestle company, or PepsiCo, or whoever it is, I don't like, who are these people, these billionaires? I literally want to like throw up, because they literally give money to the politicians to make the laws that we have to live by and our children have to live by. And this is so sad. I'm so sorry that happened. I'm so sorry that, and they,
No, and they changed the law, and and we don't even know about it. It's quietly changed. But you're right, and it's it's funny because I'm thinking of what happened with my uncle, the family that lost their father. I mean, it was a wife with 2 kids. She started a GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe, this is years ago at this point. It's like 10 years. Yeah, it wasn't
I'm like
like
about to post it. I'm like, send me the link.
No. It's like 7-10 years ago at this point. Sadly, I can't believe it's been that long, but it's a fucked up case. I'll tell you offline. But people benefit. Like, these are the real people who need the help, and these are the people who, like, can you imagine being this family, and like the Florida system is so rigged. The NRA has gone involved because it's a gun issue, and of course,
and the NRA was made the same year the KKK was made illegal. What are we doing, friends? It's obvious. Yes, I think it's important to have training and safety, insurance, or whatever you want. But why is it the NRA? Why are they paying all these politicians?
I don't know.
Why are you in Florida? Are you safe there?
Miami is I know it's so hard to like conceptualize with other people. Like, Miami is so different from the rest of Florida, and though
it's like Austin.
Yeah.
Austin's in Texas, but it's not Texas.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's as liberal or progressive as Austin or that big of a safe haven. But no, that you're exactly right. That's the same vibe here. Like, I'm not going to be shot down, because I'm gay with my husband in my neighborhood. Like, we're privileged. We're hashtag
because you're making out with your hot husband.
I mean, he
out
is really hot.
at a bar.
I mean, literally, and that's what we were doing earlier today. Because I hadn't seen him in like a month. It was like, gosh, Daddy Jeff. Oh, I'm so happy to see him.
Yeah.
No, but like, no, Florida's fucked. I have to tell you, it was so funny because I have a lot of issues with my parents. We've talked about this before.
Yes.
Especially currently. I think my dad is an emotionally abusive, awful human being. I have a lot of unresolved issues with my mom, and she has dementia, Alzheimer's now. So like, I can't I can't rationalize these things. At a certain point, I do have to. We talked about this last episode.
Yeah.
They're flawed. They have their issues, right? So it's my job now to like move on. Does not excuse what they did, but I have to move on.
Of course not.
But I loved Miami. I love Florida as a natural, beautiful landscape. I love the ocean here. I love how the sun falls on the land. For me, I love it so much. I think it's the biggest bullshit that we finally, or adults, we were able to buy something in the neighborhood I grew up around. And now the country, the government is like literally going against us. My family are people I don't recognize at all. And it's terrifying. But that being said, I'm safe. It's totally safe. That's not an issue. There are other parts of this state that people are not safe. We are safe.
Not
here.
safe.
They're safe.
I mean, I think it's every state though. Like even Northern California, very conservative. There are places there where you're not safe. It's wild. It's wild. And I kind of just want everyone to realize that like it's not us. Like even your dad, like it's not you, dude. Like you can let go of the anger. Like I know you had struggles and trauma, but like you can like take a deep breath and just be nice to your boy.
Oh my God. Do you want to hear something horrible? Maybe I'll cut this out, but like, do you want to hear something like this?
I do actually.
This is going to boil your blood. I mean, this is just going to go tell you about like the kind of person, like my husband was with my dad and my cousin My cousin
Okay.
is a lawyer, and he's married to a doctor, and she
Okay.
is incredibly successful. My
Right.
cousin, when they broke up years ago, like my cousin was still in college when they broke up, my cousin was devastated. This is the love of his life. I'm prefacing this by saying my dad and my husband and my cousin are out riding their motorcycles because that's what you do in Florida on a Saturday
Love
afternoon.
that. Wait, that's so sweetie.
Yeah,
Okay.
sweetie, right?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. And my dad like turns to my cousin, and I'm getting this all secondhand. So alleged. I wasn't here.
Alleged. We weren't there.
I'm driving back from Hilton, and yeah. Although I would love if you were there, and just be like, "Oh, Emma Dumont, what are you doing here?"
Ooh,
You're like, "It was a
I don't-
wrong turn, bitch. Welcome to my neighborhood."
Wrong turn. You know what's so funny? Somebody said something the other day, and it wasn't you. Somebody was like, "Yeah, the universe will take care of those bad people," and I was like, "Nice to meet you. I'm the universe."
Oh my god, I love that. I love that BDE. Like, please, we all need that in this country. But so my dad turns to like my cousin, and he's here like, women past 35, like they have like they're done with their prime. And he's here like, and men just want a woman who wants to make food and make sure that the family is taken care of. And I am like, I'm getting this all secondhand, and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with someone like this? But I say
this is his uncle. This is uncle saying
his
this
uncle,
to him about
and
his wife.
Like, and literally, and then, Jeff my husband isn't included in the conversation because, he's gay. He doesn't understand, the needs of a man, like having a hearty meal, like, like they just order takeout every night. Those fairies love their trendy, Pan Asian
fairies
food.
love their Grubhub. Grubhub sponsor us.
Yes, please. Thank you.
We
Discount
do love
code.
our Grubhub. Yeah.
Listen, but when I heard that story, I was driving down and I told Jeff, I was like, I don't want to hear this. I can't hear this. But then as I was by myself, because I was in Hilton Head, it was an 8-hour drive. I was like, wow, this is someone who's so angry at the world that didn't even look at my mom, who he's been married to for like 50 years, did not even look at her as a partner.
Even as a human.
And like, I cannot ever imagine not turning to the person I'm spending decades with and not value them. What does that say about you as a person?
Dude, it is wild, but it's culturally so accepted in so many different communities in the States. Why is that okay? And even if people don't say it outright, it's like a, I say like behavior is a language. Yeah. Just because someone doesn't say like, I'm sexist, I'm homophobic, I'm transphobic, I'm a bigot, doesn't mean that they don't act that way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm shocked that your dad even said those words, especially to his nephew.
To his nephew, who is like, again, married to a doctor who's making more than him. And my cousin has said on more than one occasion being like, I assure you, I can give a flying fuck who makes more money. And if she does, I'll be the stay-at-home, I'll do everything.
Like, give me my allowance, mama.
Give me my allowance, mama. Like, my sugar mama, like, whatever she needs. Like, it's so baffling because if you met them, like, you would be like, this is a pair that gets along really well. Like, and I say this objectively.
Wait, why did they break up? Why did they break up the first time?
Oh, my God.
They were kids.
They were kids. They were, like, in their mid-20s. And they had they're high school sweethearts.
Oh, I get it. Enough said. Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, does your father believe that like being a doctor is useless?
Yes. By the way, sidebar, in general, you called it right there. My dad has said, what do doctors know before? Like, it's insane.
I understand though, because I understand why he feels that way. There was so much fear. There was so much active like racism, prejudice that does go on in the medical field. Absolutely. So I'm not going to say I don't understand where he comes from, but gosh, I hope if that man ever gets sick that he goes straight to a doctor.
Well, he has not, A. But B, yes, that is a different conversation for another day. But like, listen, I want to pull the thread of what you said, because like, just like any profession out there in the world, there's some people who are very good at their job, and there's some people who are just really bad. I mean, I know. Yeah. I'm so bad
even
too.
Evil people. No shit. No, you're great at your job.
No, you are fantastic.
No, you're a star. Dude,
No,
I'm not fantastic.
You're a literal star. Literally.
No, I'm not.
Do you know how many DMs I get about you? Like everyone's like,
Being
oh my
like-
God, it's Polaris, it's Emma.
I remember you told me last time you were like, I got 8 DMs about you, and I was like, great, let's make it 8 million, and maybe I won't be home.
No, that was in reference to like a specific comment or something like that. Like it wasn't.
I'm kidding.
But
no,
no,
everyone is so sweet. I honestly am so appreciative. I just get nervous. I'm like, I don't think I deserve anyone's like attention or anything like that or anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, me? What? Anyway.
well, I mean, listen, why not you? You know, like why?
Well, for many reasons. Where should I start?
That's episode number 5. No, I forgot where we're going with this, but
Me neither.
some people are
Or
just bad
also-
at their jobs, so it's okay to be just trustworthy of some
Yeah.
stuff. Like it's fine. Like that's
Yeah.
not. But like in general, like if you're sick, you do need to seek some kind of,
Yeah.
support for
Like,
that
please
physically.
do. Like, please do. Yes, please. You deserve that. You deserve to be
it.
alive. Absolutely.
You deserve that. And
Yeah, like, do I trust all lawyers? Do I trust all politicians? Probably not.
oh, you shouldn't trust lawyers. My dad's a lawyer. Don't don't trust them. Yeah, I know.
This just came full circle.
I know. Look at that.
Look
Emma.
at that.
I'm obsessed with you. I cannot believe I got you and Lenore on the same Zoom.
I know. I'm so
Incredible.
grateful. She's amazing. She's such a star. I wanted to ask her, I wanted to be like, hi, give me advice. Because there's this like, there are certain like laws or protections put in place by the UN, basically like, no, or by the UN and also just like by, I don't know who made the decisions. I don't know. We're so new. Humans are so new. But basically, like, no one government can help another government. Well, no one government can go into another country and change things or enforce things, right? Because that would make no sense.
Yeah.
However, what if they went into another country to like help, to assist? If maybe some Canadian people and some Mexican people came up and were like, hey, US, y'all are crazy. We're just going to help you out a little bit. Like,
Hokey tickle.
right? Yeah. Like just a little bit, whatever you guys want. If all 360 million of you want like such and such out of office, we're just gonna like, no, we're not gonna touch anyone. We're not gonna force anything. We're just gonna go there and be like, hello, madam or sir, we were requiring you to step down from your office or your position as a public servant. Like, we just need a little bit of help. I just want a little bit of help. But apparently that's crazy.
It is like it's ludicrous to think that like we live in a world right now where like our systems are so broken that even the thought of like getting assistance or some kind of like advice, it's like, oh my God, like it's, I don't know. I'm not shocked by anything anymore.
But this is how things like abusive governments are able to I'm not going to name any names, but like, maybe don't kidnap everyone's pet and murder it. Like maybe don't do that. Sorry, trigger warning. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. It's
I'm
fine.
so sorry.
It's just like we just live in this world right now where
we just live here. We were born
I'm not
here.
shocked
We
by
didn't choose it.
anything. Yeah, you're right. And by the way, that was one of those aha moments for me when I, why not you? Well, for someone like me, seeing what you were posting about like, oh, you're giving me gray hair. It's like a parent saying that to a kid. It's like, why? That is a form of emotional abuse. The kid did not ask to be here. You elected to have that kid. And that was an aha moment for me when my dad has said far worse shit. Like, I wish my dad would be like, I have gray hair because of you. Like that.
Yeah,
would
right.
Be,
That's like, yeah, me too. I'm
that'd
like,
be great. Like, oh my
yeah,
God, that would
easy.
be wonderful. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Let me buy you hair dye. Like, oh,
Yeah,
no.
like let's go to the salon. Like,
Yeah,
it's
like
fine.
on me. Like, let's get your hair done on me.
Yeah.
But like,
Love you.
but like, no, wow, that is like my parents, like that used to say, we talked about this. Oh, it's not me. You don't have other parents. You're so lucky to have me as your parent because it's the other parents
Yeah,
that
they're
don't
the bad
have
ones.
They're the bad ones. I'm the good one. And that
Yeah.
sort of like
What?
Stockholm syndrome, like really fucks
That's-
with you.
Well,
And-
it's so dangerous because we are conditioned from, they say like, like research suggests, experts say that children don't understand the idea that their parents could be wrong about anything. If I was a 4-year-old and my parent told me something racist or bigoted in any way, I would say, yep, that's 100% true because I'm a 4-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And so when parents tell their children, I'm the best parent ever, I'm better than every other parent, but they're still being abusive, children believe that there's something wrong with the child because they think, oh, my parent's the best parent ever, and yet they hurt me or emotionally or physically, whatever it is, I must be bad.
Yeah,
And so
I'm the wrong one.
and even I'm the wrong one. And even further, not only can children not understand that their parents could be wrong, they actually cannot cognitively understand that their parents could be emotionally completely emotionally immature or coercive. They don't understand that.
Well,
which sucks.
Well, because also like your brain is cooking during some formidable years.
Like
I'm
we're
sorry.
dum-dums.
Like
we're just
dum-dums.
babies.
We're just
We're
cute. We're like
dum-dums.
cute little dum-dums who like pose in front of photos and stuff like that. And then once you become of a certain age, you start questioning things. But like, it's taken me decades to like take that programming that I've gotten from my parents. And it's only during a time where things are really bad for them then that do you realize there are cracks in that foundation. There are snakes on this fucking plane.
Ooh, there are snakes on this plane, baby, and
fucking-
roaches. Those flying ones, like in Florida.
Oh my God, they do fly down here. Do not come. Do not.
No.
Just
It's a
stay
no for
away.
me.
No.
I can't. Ah,
I know
I'm
it
not
scares
into
the
it.
shit out of me. But like, here's the thing though, and it's like I don't know what it was, like why you cannot have a conversation with your parents and you guys can be equals at a certain point. You know what I mean? Like at a certain point in your life, like why does that dynamic stay? Why does it not evolve? No relationship that stays stagnant ever endures. And unless you're gonna have a parent who evolves, and by the way, sidebar, the parents, my parents used to say, like those are the bad ones. They have the best relationship with
They are the best parents.
Yeah.
Same, exact
Yeah.
same. Absolutely. I'm like, great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right though. The reason is I believe that there were generations upon again, back to the depression thing. I think there were generations upon generations of people who had children because they thought having kids would fix them in some way, fix their life, make them happy. That's not what happens. It makes it worse. And then you're abusing a child. No one wants to be a child abuser.
No.
So if you are messed up, go to therapy. Don't have a kid.
Yeah. Work on yourself. The world deserves to know the best version of you.
I love
That's
that.
what-
That's such a
yes.
sweetie way to say it. And
Yes.
you deserve to know the best version of you.
You are, I forgot who said this, but like, I forget, I read it somewhere, but like,
Eleanor Roosevelt.
which I published her book in fucking Harper, and I don't remember because I read it really quickly. It was a reprint.
Oh.
But no, she said, oh, and I have another wonderful quote. Maybe I can share later, but
Please.
But the quote I read is like the world, like you are robbing everyone that you walk into a room and you're not giving your best version to them because you could be inspiring
Absolutely.
someone who needs that. You know what I mean?
Yes, who really needs that. And
Yeah.
I've had days where someone has like totally turned my day around. Like even if it was just like being kind, a gesture, a piece of guidance or advice, like yes, it's a real thing. Also, Paul, speaking of publishing, I'm writing a children's book.
I am so happy that you are doing something like that because the world needs it. I'm putting you in touch.
That's so sweet.
Have I put you in touch with any of my? Did I ever put you in touch with
No.
my friend Erin Wicks?
No.
Shout out to
no.
Erin. She doesn't listen. She was my old work life babe.
Erin, we love you. Oh no, I know all about Erin.
She's an editor, and I think she would be. Let's take this offline.
Really? Okay, let's take this offline. But let me tell you really quick. It's
Tell me
called
about the book.
it's called When Mommy Isn't Kind. And then there's going to be a When Daddy Isn't Kind. And it's just like letting children recognize when like maybe something's wrong. Because again, we don't know. We think they're perfect because they tell us they're perfect.
This is such a good idea. Let me tell you, it's funny because there's this book out that's called "I'm Glad My Mom Died."
Oh yeah, Jeanette McCurdy, of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
This is like the childhood version of that. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And they
Could not
need
relate
kids
more.
versions.
No, they do. And
Yeah.
the great thing is I actually know people right now who are going through like court hearings and custody battles with abusive exes, right?
Yeah.
And there are unfortunately situations where my situation where the court makes a mistake and puts the children with the abusive parent. And maybe that kid needs that book and that dad or that mom wants to buy their kid that book so that they know that when mommy or daddy isn't nice, that's not okay and that they need to tell a safe adult.
But do you know, like what you just said, the best advice we could ever give when I was on the, publishing end, best advice you can ever give an author who's stuck or is unsure of their book.
What?
Write the book that you wish you could have pulled off the shelf when you were a kid or
Wait, I'm gonna cry now. Wait,
Don't cry.
I like am because I really wish someone would have told me that it wasn't my fault. Sorry.
No, I want this
No,
book
like,
out there
yeah.
that these kids need it because it's still happening today. I don't care whatever veil of Instagram parents are putting out there. I have literally seen people being like, "Hey, I'm with my kid, Insta Live," and then put the phone down. Like, what are you doing?
What are you
know
doing?
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like. And I'm like, that poor kid doesn't understand that this is
that's
something
fake.
else.
Yes, they don't get it. And then they're confused. They're like really like the new addiction is social media. Our parents, the addiction was like drugs and alcohol. And so like we understood that they were one person when they were sober and another person when they were drunk. And then these kids are now learning that their parents are one person when they're in public and one person when they're in private, and or public meaning social media. And it's just like sad. It's all terrible.
I'm so happy you're writing that book. Little Emma
Thank
needed
you.
to pull that
She
book off the shelf.
She did. And I have a illustrator, and we're like gonna do it.
Oh my God. Wait, do I know the illustrator? Or is it someone in our...
No.
Is it someone...
No. This is someone who is undiscovered, let's say.
Well, those are the best kinds. I'm telling you.
We'll do it for cheap. No, I'm just kidding. Don't put that on the air.
No. We'll omit that part. No, but you know, the way book publishing works is if someone acquires it, you both get paid. So it's a joint venture. You both are gambling together.
And that's the thing. That's what and I also like, I love working with people, and I know that their interest is in the project and not in like the financial gain potentially. And like, I think everyone deserves to be paid for their skill, their trade, whatever. I just don't have the funds right now to pay someone. So that's, you know, and I'm so grateful to this illustrator who's helping me. So
I'm so proud of you and the illustrator. Congratulations on that. I want an advance copy, and we can plug it.
Absolutely. Well, I was gonna publish it on like Amazon, because you can like self-publish on Amazon now.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, listen, in the past I've always said, like, I've told people, I'll shy away from, like, they're called vanity presses, but in today's world,
what is vanity press?
It's just the term for self-publish. It's a term for self-publish, but.
Okay.
The thing is,
I also just don't want like Bezos to like own it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if Bezos. I'd have to look at if they send you a contract, send it to me and let me take a look. I know where the little pitfalls are in those.
Yeah.
But like, I think when you do the self-publishing route, you reach a lot more people, especially if you have an audience or a platform or room you've already created, which you have.
Oh, great! Okay,
and
cool.
I think that it goes directly to the people who need it, and you can work a lot on distribution and stuff like that versus. You know, it's just the market is very different today than it was like 10 years ago. Of course, I definitely think doing the self-published route goes a long way. But I also think you're exceptionally talented, and you could probably get one of the big 5. Let me introduce you to my friend Erin on email.
Okay. Oh my God.
Or sorry, it's like the big 4 now. I forgot what it is. I haven't been in publishing for a minute.
Whatever. Fuck them. We don't care.
I don't care.
I got out of that world. Fuck that.
Yeah, did not have the best time in HarperCollins, but there are
Erin.
but there are a lot of really talented editors, and a voice like yours. I also think you should do like a memoir, nonfiction, or some kind of route like
people
that.
Keep telling me that. I'm like, no, I'm not interesting. I can't. Like, there's nothing to say.
I'm sorry. You have an ability to really connect with people, and like here. You're very honest and you're very raw, and like you may not think that, and that's fine, but like other people are benefiting from how you are approaching communication now. So I'm sorry, that's my 2 cents. I think you should totally do it.
Paul, should we write a book together about abusive parents?
I'll send you links to the stuff I've already published. Like it is
absolutely.
My dad, you know, so I've talked about body dysmorphia. This one time I landed in Miami years ago, like maybe 3-4 years ago.
Yes.
And my dad had just lost a lot of weight. And he looks at me and goes, look at me. Soy anorexia again to me. And, you know, the times I've gone into my dad's office, because my mom used to be his paralegal, and obviously my mom is gone. My dad will speak in Spanish, saying, oh, my son doesn't understand Spanish, but like, yeah, I suffered from an eating disorder, and he too suffered from an eating disorder. And I'm like,
so he is fully aware. He's fully aware of it.
And I'm like, why are you talking about my story? Listen, I mean, I don't have much room because I've published stories about there.
I was going to say, isn't it public knowledge?
But like, it's public knowledge. But still, like, you're talking about me as if, like, first of all, I understand Spanish, you dipshit.
Of course you do.
Like, I grew up in fucking Miami, and like, I'm smart, A. And B.
Like, does he know you even?
No, he doesn't. But like, those stories out there, I forgot what the point here was, but like abusive parents, like it takes on so many different forms, and it morphs throughout your life. It's not even just saying a bad comment. It's just how they are. And that's going back to what you said about some of these sayings, you're giving me gray hairs. It's damaging. So yes, we will write a fucking book. We will publish essays, but I think your kid's book, little Emma, is going to be so proud of you.
I know. I'm like healing my inner child.
Oh my
I'm
God,
like,
so
I'm gonna go like hand them out to all the like schools and be like, hi, this needs to be in your library. They're like, who are you?
Oh my God, you're gonna be like Regina George, like who photocopied like the burn book. You're just gonna
Yeah,
be
that's
going
what
through
I
like
was gonna say. Yeah,
throwing
just
like
throwing it like
everywhere.
read, everyone read.
While these little kids are like revolting. I love it. I'm so proud of you. You're such an incredible talent.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. You're such an incredible talent.
Mm,
Period.
Pale when compared. And with that, I guess we're done. We're done for tonight.
Yeah. Oh my
No.
gosh.